It's been 75 years of building global peace and security for the United Nations. In recent years, the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, have been the UN's vehicle for driving development, reducing poverty, maintaining peace, and protecting the planet. However, amid a global pandemic, this landmark anniversary only serves to remind the world of the need to cooperate across borders and sectors to defeat COVID-19. In an online video message to the UN General Assembly, President Muhammadu Buhari highlighted Nigeria's achievements at the UN since 1960, when the country officially joined the organization.
Nigeria has contributed human, financial, and material resources to several United Nations peacekeeping operations. We have also provided humanitarian aid to refugees and displaced persons, helped countries in tackling diseases such as Ebola, and extended both human and financial resources as technical aid to other countries.
About what has Nigeria benefited since joining the UN? What is the role of hunger in peace building? This will form part of our discussion on Nigeria Today. I'm Victor Azul. Welcome. Now, joining me in the studio to discuss United Nations at 75 is Paul Ejime, an international affairs analyst. Thank you for coming on the program, Paul.
Thank you for having me, and good evening, viewers.
Now, let's begin straight on by asking, UN at 75, what's your assessment?
Well, the UN has come a long way. If you remember, a successor organization to the League of Nations after the First World War, 1914 to 1918. And then, after the Second World War, they felt that the League of Nations was, wasn't really effective. And so United Nations was set up 1945. And so since then, it's been monitoring what, like we say, world peace and security, because that is what it is. The agenda then was that to prevent another war from happening. So to promote peace. That is the principal mandate. They have added security without peace, and they are intertwined. And now they have then added the issue of, like you mentioned, development, human development, and then climate, and then disease, poverty, reduction or eradication, if you like. And so that is the kind of, so apart from UN itself, there are other affiliate organizations like the WHO, like UNESCO in terms of education.
Absolutely.
There is the World Bank, talking about money. There is UNICEF and, UNDP, and then World Food Program, that tries to rush humanitarian aid where that is needed. All those, WTO and all that. So these are the kind of, it's becoming a bureaucracy really to manage, because with all these, arms that, but it's also, all of them are trying to address human challenges of peace, threats to peace, instability, and then well-being, trying education, looking at international law, looking at peacekeeping, and all that. So that is where the UN is. So it's a mixed bag. In some areas, there's been, incremental gains. In other places, they've not been as successful. Let us put it this
talking
way.
about not being as successful. Now, you alluded earlier that the major objective of the UN is or was to maintain peace. Now, and that got me, because I remember Fela of blessed memory, where he said, disunited United Nations, who and who are united in the United Nations. Let me not use his own pidgin words. Have they achieved that major objective of maintaining peace among nations?
Well, one of the greatest, very commodity that is in short supply is peace, or the ability. I mean, let us also mention the fact that peace is really not the absence of war or conflict or crisis. These are inevitables that you have to deal with in human relations, interpersonal, family, organizations, societies, communities, nations, and then the world at large. So it's not a case of, because there is no way really you will say that you will achieve peace totally. What you can do is to be able to manage those threats to peace. Some of them are, you mentioned COVID-19. That is a threat to human existence. Wars, conflicts, poverty. These are all, and then abuse of human rights, inequality, injustices. These are, elements that attack the peace of the world. And so UN, they have tried in their, like I said, is a mixed bag. It's not a case of saying that they have been very successful. In fact, they cannot really eradicate all the threats to peace.
But has there been more peace now than it used to be, or with taking on of these other issues, legion of them, would we say that the world has become even more disunited now?
Well, the founders of UN will tell you well that the key thing was to prevent another war. There hasn't been a third world war, I think, if you want to measure it that way. But there have been so many battles, or small wars, in terms of, and it's not just physical fighting or using weapons. Disease, and is also a kind of battle that the world will need to wage. Poverty, there is war against poverty. You fight against it. You fight against disease like you fight, So that is the kind of complex and complicated issue that when it comes to peace, that is not as simple. It's not that you will say, well, it's not a straightforward road. It's multi-layered. And so you need to begin to unpack them from time to time and deal with them as they come. It can be a climate change issue. It can be disease. It can be like poverty, inequality, COVID-19. Remember, we also had Ebola. And there is also illiteracy. These are all issues of human development. And when you do not address them, they constitute threats to well-being or to peace or human existence. So you continue to do that. It's work in progress. I don't think you have is yet to huru. There are criticisms about how they are disunited, or the fact that at the UN itself, after 75 years, you still have 5 members having veto power. You call them the great powers, or the victors. They are still there. What you have, there are 15 members in the Security Council. 5 are permanent, and 10 are elected every 2 years.
Now that's what we are going to talk about later on this program. But in the meantime, let me ask, what does this landmark anniversary mean for member nations?
Well, by the way, it coincides with the celebration or the marking of the International Day of Peace, which was, yesterday. It's all part of, sharing experience. It says, how do you get people to begin to live? I think the Secretary General had talked about ceasefire, even for one day, where there is a combat. And is also talking about people living violence to make sure that there is cohabitation, there is tolerance, there is sharing, there is providing the environment for peace. Because without peace, you cannot have development. And then with insecurity all over the place in Africa, you know that conflicts here and there, and then poverty, like we keep saying, and then ignorance, okay, let me say illiteracy. The fact that those access to education, you have talked about, education for all. These are all goals. And then you remember the Millennium Development Goal. That has now been succeeded by the Sustainable Development Goal. It's all part of the tinkering and then calibration that UN is bringing to bear to address the issue of human development and human the challenges to existence, because the world is dynamic. These problems keep coming up, every now and then. And then, so you need to now begin to look at the strategy. You have to be innovative and creative to be able, and proactive, to be able to make sure that you are not doing a catch-up, or you are not being reactive. You have to nip some of these problems in the bud. But like we have said, it hasn't been easy. It was never going to be, because, like I said, crisis, conflict, they are all part of life. The challenge now is, how do you manage them? That is when you can have.
How do we manage them? Now,
yes.
Mr. President, speaking, as we heard earlier, was talking about Nigeria's contributions to peacekeeping across the world. And to use the African parlance, has Africa, or the Nigerian parlance rather, has Africa been carried along in all of this?
Well, it's been, what do you call it, difficult to measure. But what is clear is that, remember that Africans were part of, they've always been part of UN peacekeeping force from 1960, when some of them, I think 15 of them joined when they got independence, and the number has swelled. Now Africa has about 54 countries, with South Sudan joining in 2011, the newest country. So UN also has deployed, apart from Africans serving in UN peacekeeping forces, UN has also had its own peace missions in Africa, in Namibia, in Sudan, in Somalia, in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, and now in Mali they have about 15,000. The problem is, part of the question will be, why did this that kind of deployment, where were they not able to stop the catastrophe that is happening in Mali, the coup that happened on the 18th of August, and so on and so forth. And then you go to Rwanda. Rwanda was also a disaster in terms of peacekeeping, because UN forces pulled out to allow a genocide to take place. And so on, Western Sahara. UN has not really been, the track record is not impressive when it comes to peacekeeping. And there is a reason for that. They are still by the way, in Cyprus since 1965. The date is because they are working within a mandate that does not allow them to take casualties. The peacekeepers are ensured, even with Chapter 7, which allows for peace enforcement. The UN is never known to be fighting. There are times when, and that's part of the criticism, once the first shot is fired, they begin to evacuate their members. And that is because of the huge insurance that premium. And these are some of the issues. And then we talk about restructuring. Maybe I think we'll go there. Yes.
Now, we'll pause here anyway to take a breather. The program continues shortly. Please don't go away.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, We at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
All right, welcome back. The program is still Nigeria Today, and if you've just joined in, we've been discussing the United Nations at 75 with Paul Ejime, who is an international affairs analyst. Just before you left, I was wondering, having talked about, in quotes, carrying Africa along, Nigeria has contributed a lot, but what has been Nigeria's gains since being a member of the United Nations?
Well, no country is an island. I think by belonging, Nigeria can, even though some of the gains might not be, some of the gains are tangible and others are are intangible. So belonging there, organizations affiliated to the UN, they have had, like you mentioned, development goals, and sustainability. So all those, Nigeria can chip in. World Bank, Nigeria has also been able to draw from there. And remember, when there was the issue of military rule and transition, remember that the Kofi Annan was one of those who came in here as Secretary General, assisted by our own Emeka Anyoku, who was also at the Commonwealth. They worked, hand in hand to try to bring to bring peace. That is UN. It doesn't have to be deploying troops. But there were preventive diplomacy that Nigeria has benefited from and continues to do that. And also, UN is working with Nigeria to make sure that the region, West Africa, ECOWAS, is in good shape. UN has what you call the UN Office for West Africa and the Sahel, headed by Dr. Ibn Chambers, the former ECOWAS Executive Secretary and President. And then you see him flying in from time to time. Nigeria is a regional leader. And so it may not, in terms of you saying, well, this is exactly to quantify it and put a monetary tag on it. But it's there.
But at least we can compare
yes.
Nigeria's contributions versus Nigeria's gains. Have we been better for it in that context?
It would be, there are, what indices are you going to use to do that? Is it in terms of money? If it's in terms of money, I would say Nigeria has probably spent more in terms of, if it's peacekeeping, deploying forces that have police and then troops that have worked under, UN missions. But it doesn't have to be so. At times you belong to organizations that will bring you some benefits that may not be measurable or may not be quantifiable, but it's still there. The fact that Nigeria is there, and when there is any issue, remember also when Nigeria had issue with Bakassi, where did they go to? The treaty or agreement that resolved that after the court had ruled was it was under the UN. So these are some of the issues, and so when you have, if you are not a member, it will be difficult for you to come in and then use the platform to further your cause or gain and report your case or even get any benefit. So it is good. Remaining there is not is one good thing, and Nigeria should continue without counting the cost.
Let's look at, you were looking for how to measure Nigeria's gains. Let's look at this. Nigeria just ended a one-year tenure as president of the UN General Assembly. Does this in any way boost Nigeria's chances or strengthen Nigeria's chances of becoming permanent member in the council? It's something Nigeria has been after for a while.
Well, that is a complicated issue. But I mean, talking in terms of gains too. Remember our own Ibrahim Gambari, who is now the chief of staff to the president. He had worked at the UN for served in Sudan and other places.
Those are individual benefits.
No, but they are Nigerians.
They are Nigerians.
And then, there is Mrs. Mohammed, who is also a high-ranking member.
But all of these...
If Nigeria is not a member, there is no way you can get their citizens.
All of these cannot be compared to being on the... being a permanent member of the UN.
Okay, no, I was just trying to. We were talking about gains.
Issues here.
So, in terms of membership of Security Council, that is one issue where Africa will have to. Africa constitutes about 16 to 17% of the world population. After Asia, it is the next one. Asia, about 4 billion people. Now, Africa is about 1.3 billion. So it has that. So it can make a case for permanent membership of the UN Security Council. But the question will now be who the details will come to, which countries will be there. And that is where you remember that there have been talks about South Africa, about Egypt, about Nigeria, and so on and so forth. But these are issues that Africa, remember, AU is there, that they need to go and talk among themselves and agree. It's not going to be easy. But no one country can just walk up and say, well, I want to represent a region. So there has to be some negotiations, give and take, and then consensus, arriving at whether it is one country or two countries that will become. So Nigeria has a case to make in terms of population, in terms of contribution, and then in terms of what it has done with or for the UN. I think it can make that case, but it remains to be seen whether we are actually getting there, because this reformation or reform at the UN has been at the front burner for a very long time, but it comes in and goes because it does not really lie with Africa alone. Okay. This is something that also the great powers
in the world
will have a say. And so it's tricky, but with very shrewd diplomacy, and it can be done. It's a possibility.
All right. Now, the president remarked again earlier, highlighting the urgent need to strengthen international cooperation among member countries. What's your take on this? Could the president have been talking about trade or other forms of cooperation? And is it something that the UN can achieve with the way relationships across board is at the moment? Well,
relationships are at different levels. You can have bilaterals, you can have multilateral, and so there are platforms, at the UN, provided by UN to build that and consolidate them. So I think the president must have been talking about in all areas, in trade, in commerce, in migration. You will see issues coming every now and then, even here in West Africa, between Nigeria and Ghana, traders and so on. And then in South Africa, you have xenophobia and so on. So these are issues that, but Africa has to clean its own house, put its own house in order. Because without that, you cannot really begin to engage in any meaningful partnership.
All right, thank you.
Otherwise, you will get the wrong end of the stick.
All right. At this point, I must say thank you, Paul Ejime, International Affairs Analyst, for your perspectives on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Nigeria Today is live every weekday at 7:30 in the evening. But you can watch this edition and others on www.youtube.com NTA News 24 Hub. My name is Victor Azul. See you tomorrow.